Good afternoon. Welcome. Teacher Mr. Loria. This is lecture 4, I think, on Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. We're going to cover the chapter called Among the Child People. We're going to talk about Nietzsche a little bit. We're going to talk about rich people. We're going to talk about Kamaswami, Kamala, a separate piece, welcoming and moderation, inner voice. We're going to talk about hetaeras versus prostitutes. I looked this up. We're going to talk about set stars versus fallen leaves. We're going to talk about the secret of people. Let's begin. Big shout out once again to the actual good version of this book, which is this one, not the inferior blue book version. Okay, so we're going off of this one. Just so you know, among the child people, a couple key points, right? Think of that, the title of that chapter, Child People. If you are familiar with, you should be familiar with Nietzsche and Carl Jung as you read Hermann Hesse. So Nietzsche talks about the Übermensch, the Superman versus the ordinary. And that idea certainly influenced Hesse. So Siddhartha kind of views himself as separate or above other people. And that's, Nietzsche would agree with that, I think, to a large extent. But if you think about the implication of child people, calling people children, it's a little bit pejorative. And it's a little bit insulting, it's a little bit demeaning. So there is an air of superiority about this, right? There's also a tone that Hesse treats wealthy people. Hesse was never that wealthy. He certainly didn't grow up wealthy, and perhaps as he saw the world wars around him, saw, wealthy people profiting off of the enterprise of war, it influenced his thoughts. So there's a little bit of a negative edge to his descriptions of the rich. Kamaswami is a pretty simple character, in my opinion. Not much to him. He introduces Siddhartha to business. Siddhartha learns business from him. Kind of becomes his apprentice, his business partner. While he's learning from Kamaswami about business, he's also learning from Kamala about how to love. There's a passage on page 58. She taught him that lovers may not part after celebrating their love until each has admired the other. Each has been as much victor as vanquished. So it's an interesting point there. So he's learning from Kamala, he's learning from Kamaswami. This is Siddhartha, of course. He knew little about rice and wool. He had good instincts that surpassed him, right? Cool-heartedness and composure in the art of listening to and sounding out other people. Siddhartha still has these strengths. He still has this kind of, the resolve of being a samana, and a little bit of the interior voice still going on. On page 60, it says that easy was it for him to converse with everyone, live with everyone, learn from everyone. He was nonetheless quite aware there was something separating him from them. This thing that set him apart from him was his life as a samana, not just that. He observed people living in a childish or animal way. He simultaneously loved and deplored. That's very important, right? There's something that's setting me apart from them. I'm not sure what this is, but I love it and deplore. I hate these people at the same time. In the next paragraph, he's opening to everything that people brought him. He welcomed the tradesman, he welcomed the beggar. They each received the same treatment from him as a servant. So he treats people with respect. There's something about him. It's a little bit different. And that's still happening in his early days of wealth. Let's see. Then there is this part, right, where he says to her, there's this passage with Kamala where he says, we're different from most people. There's a stillness and a refuge within you that you can withdraw to at any moment and be at home with yourself, just as I have. Few people have this, right? And again, she kind of disagrees with him. Now, this brings us to a very important point. On page 62, they describe her as a hetaera, and I had to look up what the heck that is. And again, it has to do with the courtesan. And there's a special kind of courtesan. In ancient Greek, they had their own rights. They were educated. They had wealth. They were allowed to participate in the symposium. They were independent. They had to pay taxes. They had distinctive dresses. So they were like a separate class of people. Again, this is not your simple prostitute. They call her in the Blue Book courtesan instead of that other word, hetaera. So again, I do think that she's different. And then, boom, this is the nail in the coffin. Toni Morrison, thank you, points out that it is one of the 4 Carl Jung's archetypes of females, right, Tyler. And what it translates most to, according to her scale, it's pretty cool, look it up, is they're the companion to men. So there's the sexual side, yes, but again, like if Kamala was just a sexual character, you would just have the descriptions about how, and you do have these, she's supple as a jaguar, and her body knows all these different forms, 30 or 40 different games, right? You do have those, but you also have the pillow talk. You also have the most philosophical conversations to this point Siddhartha's had with anyone. So Kamala serves an additional role in this book, and she is, pretty important. So last but not least, we have this image, this beautiful image, a set star versus a falling leaf. Love it. He says, most people, Kamala, are like a falling leaf as it twists and turns through the air, lurches and tumbles to the ground. Others, though very few, are like stars set on a fixed course. No wind can reach them, and they carry their laws and their path within them. Kierkegaard talks about how some people live life as if they're riding asleep in the back of a wagon as a horse drags it along. Other people, he says, live life, they jump on a horse, they grab the reins, they say, let's go, right? Kierkegaard being another existentialist. So you have, again, this image of, like, we're different from them, right? We're like stars, we're fixed. We have this certain purpose, and they're just like kind of like aimless falling leaves. But again, like, it's a little bit spectator. It's not really participatory, and so that's kind of a fault against it. So yes, it's separate, but there's more to it, right? And finally, and Siddhartha nails this at the end, right after they do, right, the act of love, and she gazes into his face, and she's like, "You're the best I've ever had, by the way. Like, you're strong. There's something about you, right? When I'm older, I'm gonna have a child." Foreshadowing, okay, through you, right? And he says, pillow talk back, right? And she says to him, right, you don't love me, do you? And he's like, I'm not sure, right? I'm like you, and you don't love, or else how could you do what you do, right? Perhaps people of our sort are incapable of love, but child people, ordinary people, can love. That is their secret. So again, normal people can love. This kind of detached, like other, like Ubermensch type person, superior in some ways, yes, but if you can't love, what's up? All right, so that was a lot. We talked about Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, my man. Jung, we talked about rich people, all kinds of stuff. Kamaswami, Kamala. Keep reading. Next up, next chapter, or 2, or 3, whatever. Another place.